things about it. Firstly, Neal, since I'm probably the only one in the audience that actually lived with him, he was 9 years older than me, so I really got to know him during his teenage years, because I was about 7 to 9, you know. And one of the things I can remember so well right now, Neal just had this ability. He said, you know, we can't afford a real radio, but I saw in a magazine we can order the copper wiring and the coils and all this kind of stuff. I said, you know how to do that? I said, I don't know how to do it. Well, he ordered the thing, and we spent about a week working together, reading the instructions and putting this thing together. And we ran the antenna, I'll never forget, out of the bedroom up into the hackberry tree, and we had a radio. At night, we'd sit in there and listen to Nashville, WSM, and all those stations, and it was a wonderful experience. I never forget that. He had that ability to do minutiae, like you were mentioning. He did perfectionistic type things. And one of the things that I have to tell you about is Big Daddy and Mama Ruth got married in 32, and that was in the Depression years, as you know. And Neal was born 9 months later in 1993. And we didn't have any money. I mean, I wasn't born yet at that time, but nobody had any money. And but Mother had this book that I found in the cabinet. I'd never been through that cabinet where all these books were. And I found, when she died 12 years ago, I found a book that really set me off. I said, now I understand. The book was called How to Build a Christian Home. So it was in 1932, so she had just gotten married and bought this book, and she built a Christian home. And I never thought much about it, because I thought everybody's that way, you know. And but she was really big on us going to church, young men's class, all this kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, I was on a motorcycle. I said, you know, we don't need to go that often, do we? Yes, here we go. And she was right. She was absolutely right. And she was very big on all of us getting an education. She had a 10th grade, and Dad had an 8th grade. And she said, you know, if you're going to make it in life here, you've got to get a college education. This is back in early 60s, you know. And I said, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Well, Neal, of course, went to accounting. He was a perfect accountant. I mean, his personality and his perfectionism, and he wrote in, you know, back then they didn't have computers, you know. He wrote little things in the ledger, and I'm looking, I thought, wow. Anyway, we were sitting on the front porch up in Carter Street, and Dr. Taylor Raven came by. He was in the class with Neal, and they were good friends. And so I was at the stage, I was going to graduate from high school the next year, and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. And so I always followed Neal. He was a bass drummer in high school, so I played the bass drum, you know. I just was following along right behind him. And we had a little talk with Taylor Rayburn out there on the front porch one summer day, and he was telling me what it's like to be a doctor. We didn't have any doctors in the family, and I was really impressed with him. I said, you know, I like that. I said, that sounds like something I'd like to do. But then on the other hand, I wouldn't mind being an accountant, you know. Well, Neal, after Taylor left, he said, let me tell you something. Don't try to be like me, because we're different people. He knew me, you know. And he says, I think if you really want to be a doctor, you're going to have to pay your own way, you know, because none of us had any money. So I decided, I wrote Middle Tennessee State. I said, I'm trying to decide whether to be an accountant or pre-med courses. Are they different? Yeah. I got this letter back that says, they are really different. You need to decide on one or the other. You know, that's all it said, you know. And give us a call, we'll put you in whatever category you need to be. So I really thought about that. What, I can be a doctor, yeah. That's the kind of thing I want to do. I had that kind of personality. And it takes a lot of different personalities in medicine to do things. So I told Neal, I said, I really appreciate you helping me on that because I think I'm going to try medicine. He said, that's a good idea. And so I did. And so Taylor Redmond was really a very big influence on me. And Neal, of course, he knew not to say, oh no, you need to be a bass drummer and an accountant, you know. No, he says, you're a different person. He says, medicine will be good for you. So, the only other thing I can remember about growing up, this is sort of a funny thing. It wasn't too funny at the time, but Alan was the younger brother. He was 9 years younger than me. And Neal had just got him a job, I think it was with Price Waterhouse, and was traveling to Memphis to do a corporate job there. So he bought him a new, I remember it so well, it was a 57 Dodge Coronet with the fins sticking out, you know. He was so proud of it. I remember us riding up the Niceville Highway, and I said, man, this is really some car here. He said, I really like it very much. Well, we had a snowstorm, and Alan got out there and was going to be helpful and took the rake and raked the snow off the car. Oh, that's the only time I've seen Neal disturbed. I never got disturbed over anything. I've never seen a guy with a personality not to get all upset. He had the abilities and all the things that had already been brought out, but with the family, when Mother and Dad ended up in the nursing home together, he did all that work. I mean, he was just right on top of it, doing all the accounting and where the money and all that stuff. And he really spent a lot of time helping them, you know. And lucky for me, of course, I was in Florida and I couldn't participate every night, you know, with what was going on. But I do remember a very important thing that, and I'm sure Neal did the same thing. Before Mother died, I was down here and I said, you know, something I've never told you, because I could tell that she was getting near the end. I said, I've never told you that I appreciate all the things that you've done for me to make me a real person, you know. And she says, well, you never have said that to me. I said, no, I was always on a Harley Davidson rider. And she said, well, I appreciate you saying that. I said, I really mean that. And I'm glad I did that because she died a few months later, you know. And I was glad to get that off my chest because I've never really appreciated what she had done. Not money-wise, we never had any money, you know. And Neal never was money-oriented. Neal is like you said, he was more interested in different things in the community. I remember when he was on the public utilities, and his job was to get all Murray County water, water running all over the county. And it's one of the few counties that were away from the big cities that had full running water. I think it was in the late 60s or early 70s. And he was telling me all the thing, meeting the farmers, and they didn't want to pay for half of the pipe line in front of them, you know. But he stayed right with that and got that done. So we were one of the first counties here to have water supply running all over the county. So you didn't have to have the old pump thing. And it was amazing how he did. I said, "You sure you can do that?" "Yeah." I said, "Man, some of those farmers get really upset over money." But he did do that. And so he is just an outstanding brother to have. That just, he sort of kept me calm, because I was sort of a nervous type. "Hey, we're gonna go do something, you know. And he was the calm type. He was the calm type that just seemed to be in control, and everything's gonna be all right, and all that kind of thing. So I was really shook up when I heard this past weekend that he had a stroke, and they tried to get him up to Nashville, and it was too late by that time to do anything about it. So, but he was a wonderful person. He really was, and I'm so proud to have had him as a brother. And his son is going to speak about some of the things that he did. Okay.